What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Thunderbite29 here, and yep, I am back today with another video. And as last month many of you know that I made a video talking about all of Chapter 1 seasons, but I figured since now the new season came out about a week or two ago, I figured let's do a video ranking every single season from Chapter 1 Season 1 to Chapter 2 Season 8. This might be a long video, so you might want to grab some popcorn. But without further ado, let's begin, shall we? Let's start with the season that started it all. And I'm going to put that in the A tier, which is Chapter 1, Season 1. Like, the season was great for what it was. It was definitely a really great start into making Fortnite the great game that it once was. There was no battle passes. There were very great map locations and a great variety of weapons. Even though this might not have been the greatest season of all time, which I will be talking about later, of what seasons were the greatest. But this season was the booster for that to happen. Season X, awful. You know where that's going. F tier. Even though I did put it in the back of the D tier in my one video. But since we're ranking all of them, it deserves to be on top of the F tier. But the reason why it's not the worst season of all time was because they actually cared about their game. They actually put the time into solving that problem, which was the mechs and the brutes, which people had criticized, calling it the worst balancing update since the Infinity Blade and the planes. But within 3 weeks, they took them out of the game. And another thing I didn't like about this season 2 was how much of a sweat show it was. And the one great thing that it did a great job with was the storyline and the OG locations that they decided to bring back into the game before destroying the entire map. And now let's talk about Chapter 2 Season 1. I'm going to put that in the C tier. But if it wasn't a disaster that we all knew, and if the season wasn't almost 2 seasons long, and they actually put more updates into the season, I would have put it in the B tier. But I think that this ranking right here is well deserved. And the reason why that I put it in the C tier, the season was great. It had a great start. It had a couple of new weapons, and it had a couple of new mechanics like fishing, and they also had boats. But the only thing that they really messed up badly on was barely updating the game. And the season eventually got boring after like 3 weeks. But if they would have just updated the game or make the season shorter, it would have been in the B tier. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So let's go to Chapter 2 Season 2. I'm going to put that in the back of the A tier. And the reason why I'm not saying, oh, this is the best season Chapter 2 and it's going in the S tier, is because there's one thing that they really messed up on. Even though the bots and the AIs were kind of annoying, they actually kind of worked for the season's theme and concept, especially when you're wanting to collect the boss weapons. But here's where they messed up. It's because they put all of the boss weapons in certain locations, and everyone knew where to land every single game. And everyone went to fight tooth and nail to get their hands on those best weapons. And everyone knew where they were. And that's why games went so quickly, and about 75 people would die right before the first circle closes in. Like, some people might say, oh, that's great, but it just takes the fun out of the game when you're trying to compete and trying to get the best weapons, but people can just get them all in one specific location and just fight tooth and nail for it. Like, that's where I think they messed up badly on. But overall, the season was great, and I love the theme, I love the concept, and I love the weapons that they put into the season. Don't get me wrong, that was great. It's still the best season of all of Chapter 2. But yep, Chapter 1 Season 2 and Chapter 1 Season 3, you know where they're both going. They're both going in the S tier. No question about it. These 2 seasons were honestly the best seasons of Fortnite. This is the seasons I got the most enjoyment of this game. Even though Season 3 had a crossover in it, but the thing is, crossovers were more special back then because they did it like every once in a while. And this, I think, was the first crossover in the game. Like, these 2 seasons, they had really great battle passes, they had really great map locations, they had great weapons, they had great storylines. It was all just done perfectly right, and these are the only 2 seasons in Fortnite I really couldn't say one bad thing about. Now let's get to Chapter 2 Season 3. I'm going to put this in the D tier. Actually, I'm going to put it in the back of the C tier. The reason why I'm putting it in the back of the C tier, the season was not that enjoyable. Like, at the start of the season, the whole map was underwater, and of course, you had a couple of horrible weapons. But the one thing that kept me playing the game was the special events that they had done. And cars were also released into the season. I kind of like the cars for what they are, but they're kind of annoying at the same time. But here's the one thing that they actually really messed up on, and that is getting involved in the BLM movement. They should have just shut their mouths. They should have just shut their mouths on what they thought politically wise. People are going to say, oh, BLM is not political. But it actually was political. Don't get me wrong. Because that was the number one thing talked about in the summer of 2020 when all the riots happened all over the country and all that. And it was all under their name. Like, Fortnite should just stay out of that stuff. They should be focusing on their game. And they actually delayed the Cars update because for their BLM events. Like, honestly, your game should come first before putting in real life events. And now let's get to Chapter 1, Season 4. I'm going to put this in the... I'm also going to put that in the middle of the C tier. The season was great, but I'm kind of like, I don't really care much for it. The season was kind of boring, though. Well, not really boring. The season was still enjoyable. It had great locations still. But I think the following season was definitely a whole lot better. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Chapter 2, Season 4, awful. I'm putting that in the back of the F tier. The reason why that is, it's because, you guys know I don't like crossovers. And of course, this season was an entire crossover season of Marvel. But another thing that I didn't like about the Season 2 was the unbalanced updates. Like, this season had one of the most unbalanced updates since the mechs of Season X. Like, you had Iron Man's laser, you had Wolverine claws, and of course you had Doctor Doom and a couple of other weapons. Like, the game was just boring, the map was kind of boring. I mean, I did like the locations of it, but I'm sorry, you don't need a crossover to fit in with a story. Now let's get to Season 5. I'm going to put this in the top of the C tier. Like, the season was great for what it was. I definitely enjoyed it for what it was. Like, the season had some good weapons. It had some good locations, especially OG locations. But here is where they went wrong. Constant amount of crossovers. They added so many of them. There were like at least like 30 counting by the end of the season. And the constant use of TikTok emotes sold in the item shop as well. This season was just a cash grab season. But overall, the season was good, and I loved the theme of it. But overall, I just didn't like the crossover effect alone, and the season was just... They were just greedy, and all they just wanted was their money. But it definitely was not the most cash grab season of all time. Well, we're going to talk about that season at the end of this video. Chapter 2, Season 6... That's definitely going in the back of the F tier. I think it's honestly worse than Season 4. And I apologize to Season 4 for calling it the worst season ever. But of course, this season, by far, was definitely the worst ever. They took the sniper rifles out of the game, which is what built Fortnite and made Fortnite the great game in the first place. Because people love to snipe, and this is where most montagers would get their clips, was by using snipers. But this was the only season that never had a sniper rifle at all. Of course... The makeshift primal weapons, they were horrible as well. The accuracy was terrible. You had bots and AIs in the game too. A lot of them were like freaking Terminators that wouldn't die. And of course, the season was also another sweat show. I just didn't like the theme of the season either. It was basically a lazy season. Because all the new locations that we had gotten in Chapter 2, Season 5, all of them were just replaced this season. And all it was just a bunch of orange crap. And that's it. That's all there was to it. But now let's get to Chapter 1, Season 5. Back to Chapter 1 again. I'm definitely going to put this season in the B tier. And the reason why I'm putting it in the B tier, I love the season for what it was. Especially, I had fun with this season. This season is also where I got the most enjoyment. I still had fun with the game, even though I didn't win every single game. I still had fun with it. Because you had golf courses. You had golf carts. You could drive around. You could shoot basketballs into hoops, play a little bit of golf as well. They had things that you can do on the side that you can still have fun with the game without taking it so seriously all the time. This season was perfect for that. Like, if you wanted to have fun with a game without taking it so seriously, this was the season right here. But now, Season 6, I'm going to put this in the C tier as well. I was kind of like, Season was good, but it was kind of boring at the same time. Like, they didn't really have much to it. There really wasn't much change to the season at all, or much to the map whatsoever. But I'm not saying it was a horrible season. I'm like, I kind of think it was good, but I kind of think it was bad at the same time. Like, I was just like 50-50 on it. But Season 7, I'm actually going to put that in the second to back of the C tier. Like, the season was great for what... actually, I'm going to put it right there. Because the season was great. I love the map of it. But here's where they went wrong. But where they went wrong was the Infinity Blade and the planes. Like, I thought the planes were good, but they were kind of annoying how people just constantly spammed with them so much. Like, I love the map. Like, I love the ice area and the new locations and the change. And in, like, the winter, they actually covered the whole map in snow. Like, I kind of liked that. And they also had a couple of great events. You had Marshmallow make a performance during that season. That was pretty good. Like, the season also had a lot of great events. But the one season that had the best events, the best limited time events, Season 8. Season 8 of Chapter 1, of course. Like, this season had a lot of great events. You had Air Royale. Air Royale was definitely great. I loved that the most. Then you had the Avengers Endgame event, where it was basically collect all the crystals. Like, that was fun as well. But the reason why I'm not putting it in the A tier was because they destroyed Tilted Towers, which has been the game since 2017. They destroyed Tilted Towers, and they removed the pump shotgun for the first time in the game's history, and they replaced it with a combat shotgun, which was basically a spam shotgun, which is what I call it. Which kind of brings me to Season 9 of Chapter 1. This season was awful. I'm definitely going to put this in the F tier, but in the second to the F tier. The reason why I say that is because... No, actually third towards the F tier. Sorry, I keep making mistakes. It's because sometimes it's hard to make decisions like this. Like, the season was great, but I love the theme of the season. Like, I love the futuristic style of the map. But you had a lot of horrible weapons. Like, this was the season where you had the most spam. You had 4 spam shotguns. You had the combat, you had the drum shotgun, and then you had another one that I don't remember. Then you had the tack, of course, which has always been in the game. Like, I love the theme of the season. I love the map style, but I just didn't really enjoy it that much. And, of course, this season was also a sweat show. But the real blame for the sweat show was creative mode. People took the game too seriously, and people just couldn't chill. But now let's get to the final 2 seasons. Chapter 2, Season 7, and Chapter 2, Season 8. First, let's put Chapter 2, Season 7. I'm actually going to put this in the D tier. Like, I love the theme of the season. Like, I was thinking about putting this in the C tier, but I think it deserves to be in the D tier now. Or I was going to put this in the B tier as well, but it deserves to be in the D tier because, number one, they kept getting politically involved in real-life events. Like, they had Rainbow Royale, they had a Martin Luther King event, which was completely unnecessary, and it didn't belong in the game in the first place. Number two, huge amounts of crossovers. And the huge amount of crossovers, they had done it worse in Chapter 2, Season 5. Like, this season was a great season that turned into a disaster. And Chapter 2, Season 8, which is the new season, I know this is kind of unfair, but I'm going to put that in the back of the... Actually, you know what? I don't know where to put this one. Actually, you know what? I can't put it to the side. But, honestly, I'm just going to put it in the D tier. Like, the season is just not that fun. I'm actually not enjoying the season so far as of now. Actually, you know what? Screw this. I'm putting it in the middle of the F tier. Like, I cannot enjoy the season for what it is. Of course, they took out the bolt action snipers, and of course, you have the spam sniper rifle. And of course, I didn't say I hated the spam sniper rifle, but it's just annoying how people just constantly pull the trigger so fast. Like, the original semi-auto sniper from Chapter 1, you couldn't even fire it that fast. Like, the problem is they should make the fire rate on that much slower so people don't spam with it so much. Of course, the battle pass is kind of awful. The map was completely done lazy. The map was so lazy. All they just did was change the locations. Well, quote unquote changed locations, but in fact they didn't really change the locations. All they just did was change the names of them, but not touch them at the same time. Like, I thought we were going to get a whole new map change, kind of like at the end of Chapter 2, Season 4, when you had the battle against Galactus. You had that battle. And then you got a huge giant map change in Season 5. But in this season, you barely had a map change. Like, at the end of Season 7, I thought they were going to blow up the whole map. I thought they blew up the entire map. But in fact, they didn't blow up the whole map. It's like, it was completely untouched. But maybe the whole map might get blown up at the end of this season, but who knows? So honestly, guys, what do you think of my ranking? Tell me in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I know I'm probably going to get some backlash for this, but you know what? I don't care. This is personally my opinion. This is what I think of it. And what do you guys think of Fortnite today? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And thank you all so much for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content. And I will see you all in the next video. And this is Thunderbite29, signing off.